The diplomatic hall of Station Omega-7 was filled with alien ambassadors from 12 different species. They stood in their finest clothes, their scales and feathers and skin shining under bright lights. Captain one of the human vessels stood among them, feeling very small and very aware that humanity was still new to the galactic community. The High Commander, a tall creature with silver skin and 4 arms, stepped forward. His name was Lord Al, and he smiled in a way that made one uncomfortable. The smile was too wide, too pleased. "Captain," Lord Al said, his voice smooth like oil, "the Empire wishes to give humanity a gift, a symbol of our friendship." One bowed his head politely. "The people of Earth are grateful for any gesture of goodwill." The other ambassadors began to whisper among themselves. Some of them laughed quietly. One noticed this and his stomach felt tight. Something was wrong. Lord Al clapped 2 of his hands together. The large doors at the back of the hall opened and 4 guards walked in. Between them, they dragged a figure in chains. One's eyes went wide. The figure was female, clearly not. Her skin was pale blue, like the color of Earth's sky at dawn. She had long white hair that fell in dirty tangles around her face. Her body was thin, too thin, and covered in old wounds and fresh bruises. She wore torn robes that might have once been beautiful. Now they were just rags. But what struck one most were her eyes. They were golden and they were empty, dead, like someone had taken everything from her and left nothing behind. The guards threw her to the floor at one's feet. She did not try to stand. She did not even look up. "This," Lord Al announced loudly, "is Aura. Once she was the queen of the people. She ruled 40 star systems. She commanded a fleet of 10,000 ships." He paused, and his smile grew even wider. "Now she is nothing, a failure, a joke." The hall erupted in laughter. Ambassadors from different species pointed at the fallen queen and made cruel sounds of amusement. Lord Al continued, clearly enjoying himself. "Her people rebelled against her. Her own generals betrayed her. She lost everything in a single night. We found her drifting in space, alone in a broken ship, waiting to die." He looked at one with cold amusement. "We thought she would make a perfect gift for humanity. After all, you humans are also weak, also insignificant. Perhaps you can be weak together." More laughter filled the hall. One stood very still. He looked at the woman on the floor. He looked at the chains on her wrists. He looked at the way her shoulders shook just slightly as the entire galaxy laughed at her pain. Something hot and angry rose in his chest. He remembered his grandmother's stories about Korea's history, about times when his people had been conquered, occupied, looked down upon, about how they had risen again and again, no matter how many times they fell. He remembered his father's words. "The measure of a person is not how they treat the powerful, it is how they treat the powerless." One stepped forward and knelt down in front of Aura. The laughter in the hall began to fade as everyone watched, confused. "Your Majesty," one said softly. Aura's golden eyes flickered. For the first time she looked up. Her face showed surprise, then confusion. One reached out and gently took her chained hands in his own. "I am Captain One of Earth. I accept you not as a joke, but as a guest of honor aboard my ship." The hall went completely silent. Lord Al's smile disappeared. "What did you say?" One stood and turned to face the commander. His voice was calm but firm. "I said I accept her as a guest of honor, not a slave, not a trophy, a guest." "You cannot be serious," Lord Al said. "She is worthless, broken. She has nothing to offer you." "Maybe," one replied. "Or maybe you are wrong about what has value." He turned to his first officer, a woman named Park Yi who had been standing quietly behind him. "Lieutenant Park, please help Her Majesty to her feet." Yi stepped forward without hesitation. She was a small woman with sharp eyes and quick hands. She knelt beside Aura and spoke gently. "Can you stand? Let me help you." Aura stared at her like she was seeing something impossible. "Why?" she whispered. Her voice was rough, like she had not used it in a long time. "Why would you help me?" Yi smiled. "Because you need help, that is reason enough." Together, Yi and One helped Ara to her feet. The fallen queen was unsteady, weak, but she stood. Lord Al stepped forward, his 4 hands clenched in anger. "This is an insult to the Empire. We gave you trash and you treat it like treasure." One looked at him calmly. "Then perhaps our definitions of treasure are different." "You will regret this, human," Lord Al hissed. "She is cursed, bad luck. Everyone who has helped her has suffered." "Then we will suffer together," One said simply. He turned to his crew. "We are leaving, prepare the ship." As they walked toward the exit, the other ambassadors parted to let them through. Some looked confused. Some looked disgusted. A few, very few, looked thoughtful. One ambassador, an old creature with gray scales and wise eyes, caught One's arm as he passed. "Human," the old one whispered, "what you do today will not be forgotten, for good or bad." One nodded. "I understand." They left the station and returned to The ship was not large or impressive. It was a medium-sized exploration vessel with a crew of 37 humans, but it was home. In the medical bay, the ship's doctor, was already preparing a bed. He was a gentle man with kind eyes and steady hands. When he saw Ara's condition, his face became serious. "Bring her here," he said, "quickly." They laid Ara on the medical bed. Ha began scanning her with his instruments, and his expression grew darker with each reading. "She is badly malnourished," he said. "Dehydrated, multiple old fractures that healed wrong, signs of torture." He looked at One with sad eyes. "Captain, what did they do to her?" "Everything they could," One said quietly, "but that ends now." Ara lay on the bed, staring at the ceiling. Tears began to fall from her golden eyes, sliding down her blue cheeks. "I do not understand," she whispered. "I am nothing. Why do you waste your kindness on nothing?" One sat down beside her bed. "Because where I come from, we believe that nothing is truly nothing. Everyone has value. Everyone deserves a chance." Ara closed her eyes. "You are strange creatures, humans." One smiled. "We get that a lot." Outside the ship, the stars waited. And somewhere among them, they were already spreading the story of the foolish human captain who accepted a broken queen as his prize. They called it a joke. They would not be laughing for long. 3 days passed aboard the Ara spent most of that time in the medical bay, drifting between sleep and waking. Dr. Ha visited her every few hours, checking her readings, adjusting her treatments, and making sure she ate small amounts of food. She ate because he asked her to. She drank water because he placed it in her hands. But she did these things without any will of her own. She was like a machine that followed commands. Inside, she felt nothing. On the 4th day, she woke up to find someone new sitting beside her bed. It was a young woman with short black hair and a friendly face. She was holding a small bowl and a spoon. "Good morning," the woman said brightly. "I am Bin. I work in the kitchen. Doctor said you might be ready for real food today, so I made you soup." Ara stared at her. "Why?" Bin tilted her head. "Why what? Why did you make me soup?" Bin laughed like the question was funny. "Because soup is good when you are recovering, and because I wanted to." She held out the bowl. "Try it. I promise it will not poison you." Ara took the bowl with shaking hands. The soup was warm. It smelled like vegetables and herbs. She brought the spoon to her lips and tasted it. Her eyes went wide. It was good, really good. She had not eaten anything that tasted like this in months, maybe years. In her time as a prisoner, she had eaten only cold paste that kept her alive but gave no pleasure. She ate more, and more. Before she knew it, the bowl was empty. Bin smiled. "You liked it." Ara looked at the empty bowl. "I did not know food could taste like this." "There is more where that came from," Bin said. "When you are strong enough, come to the kitchen. I will cook for you properly." After Ben left, Ara sat alone with her thoughts. She could not understand these humans. In her experience, kindness always came with a price. People helped you because they wanted something from you: power, money, influence. No one gave anything for free. But these humans seemed different. They helped her and asked for nothing in return. It made no sense. That afternoon, Dr. Ha came to check on her. He was pleased with her progress. "You are getting stronger," he said. "Your body is healing well, but I am worried about here." He touched his chest over his heart. "Wounds of the body are easy to treat. Wounds of the spirit are harder." Ara looked away. "My spirit died long ago." Ha sat down on the edge of her bed. "I do not believe that. I think your spirit is just hiding, waiting until it is safe to come out again." "You do not know what I have lost," Ara said. "You do not know what I did wrong." "Then tell me," Ha said gently. "I am a doctor. I am trained to listen." Ara was quiet for a long moment. Then slowly she began to speak. She told him about her home world, Prime. She told him about her people, who lived on a planet of great oceans and floating cities. She told him about how she became queen when she was young, after her mother died in an accident. "I tried to be a good queen," she said. "I tried to be fair. I tried to help my people grow and prosper, but I made mistakes. I trusted the wrong people. I ignored warnings that I should have listened to." She told him about General, her most trusted military commander. He had been like a father to her. She had believed he was loyal. She had been wrong. "He had been planning for years," Ara said, "building alliances behind my back, turning my own people against me. When he finally struck, I had no warning. In one night he took everything: my throne, my fleet, my world." Tears began to fall down her cheeks again. "He killed everyone who was loyal to me. My advisors, my guards, my friends. I escaped only because one of my servants sacrificed herself to buy me time." Ha handed her a soft cloth to dry her tears. "I am sorry. That is a terrible burden to carry." "The worst part," Ara continued, "is that I had chances to stop him. People warned me they said he was ambitious, dangerous, but I did not listen. I thought I knew better." She shook her head. "My pride destroyed everything." Ha was quiet for a moment. Then he said, "May I tell you a story from my own world?" Ara nodded. "A long time ago on Earth there was a kingdom called Korea," Ha began. "It was small, surrounded by larger and more powerful nations. Many times in its history it was invaded, conquered, occupied. The people suffered greatly." "What happened to them?" Ara asked. "They survived," Ha said. "Every time they fell, they got back up. They kept their culture, their language, their identity, and eventually they became strong again. My country today is one of the most advanced on Earth." He looked at her with warm eyes. "The point is, falling is not the end. It is only the end if you choose not to stand again." Ara was quiet. She had heard many things in her life: flattery from courtiers, threats from enemies, but she had never heard words quite like these. That evening, Captain One came to visit her. He brought a small device with a screen. "I thought you might be bored," he said. "This contains many human stories, books, movies, historical records. You can learn about my people if you are curious." Ara took the device. "Why do you do this? Why do you give me these things?" One sat down in the chair beside her bed. "Because you are our guest, and because I remember what it feels like to be alone and far from home." "You have felt this." "Once," one said. "Many years ago when I was young. I was lost in space for 40 days after my ship was damaged. I had almost given up hope. Then a rescue ship found me." He smiled. "The captain of that ship gave me soup and a warm bed and told me stories. He saved my life, but more than that, he saved my spirit. I try to do the same for others when I can." Ara looked at the device in her hands. "I do not know how to repay you." "You do not need to repay me," one said. "But if you want to do something, then get better, get stronger, and when you are ready, decide what you want to do with the rest of your life." After he left, Aura turned on the device. She started reading about human history. She read about wars and disasters and times of great suffering, but she also read about how humans recovered from these things, how they rebuilt, how they never stopped trying. One story caught her attention. It was about a general named Yi Sun Sin. He had been betrayed, imprisoned, and stripped of his rank, but when his country needed him, he returned. With only 12 ships, he defeated an enemy fleet of over 300. He became one of the greatest heroes in Korean history. Ara read his story 3 times. That night, for the first time in months, she dreamed. Not nightmares of fire and betrayal, but dreams of the ocean, of ships, of battle. When she woke up, something was different. The emptiness in her chest was still there, but now beside it there was something else, something small and fragile. It took her a moment to recognize it. It was hope. 2 weeks had passed since Ara came aboard the. She was stronger now. She could walk through the ship without help. She ate meals with the crew in the common room. She had even started to learn some human words and customs. But she still spent many hours alone, thinking about her past, thinking about everything she had lost. One morning, Captain One found her sitting in the observation room, staring out at the stars. "You have been watching the stars a lot lately," he said, sitting down beside her. "My home is out there somewhere," Ara said quietly. "My people, my throne, all taken by a traitor." One nodded. "Do you want them back?" Ara turned to look at him. "What kind of question is that? Of course I want them back, but wanting and having are different things. Has my entire military. He has the loyalty of the powerful families. I have nothing." "You have yourself," one said. "I am one person. What can one person do against an empire?" One smiled slightly. "Let me show you something." He led her to a small room near the back of the ship. Inside, there was a large table with a holographic display. Lieutenant Park Yi and the ship's tactical officer, a man named Wu, were already waiting. "This is our strategy room," one explained. "Wu, please show our guests the battle of." Wu pressed some buttons, and the holographic display came to life. It showed an ocean with narrow channels and 2 fleets of ships facing each other. "This is a battle from Korean history," Wu said. "On one side, we have Admiral Yi Sun Sin with only 12 warships. On the other side, we have the Japanese invasion fleet with over 300 ships." Ara stared at the display. 12 against 300. That is not a battle, that is a massacre. "Watch," Yi said. The hologram showed the battle playing out. The 12 Korean ships positioned themselves in a narrow strait where the enemy could not use their superior numbers. The currents and tides worked against the invaders. Admiral Yi's ships used their superior cannons and armored hulls to devastating effect. When the battle ended, the Japanese had lost over 30 ships. Admiral Yi had lost none. Ara's golden eyes were wide. "How is this possible?" "Strategy," one said. "Admiral Yi understood that strength is not just about numbers. It is about positioning, timing, using your enemy's weaknesses against them." He waved his hand, and the display changed to show other battles throughout human history. Small forces defeating larger ones, underdogs winning against impossible odds. "Humans have been fighting wars for thousands of years," one continued. "We have learned many lessons. Some of them might be useful to you." Ara was quiet for a long moment. Then she asked, "Why would you teach me these things?" "Because you deserve a chance to take back what was stolen from you," one said, "and because I hate bullies." From that day on, Ara began learning. Every morning, she trained with Lieutenant Park Yi in hand-to-hand combat. Yi was small but fast, and she knew techniques that Ara had never seen before. "You are strong," Yi told her during one session, "but you fight like royalty. You expect your enemies to face you directly. What happens when they attack from behind?" Ara found herself on the ground again. "I lose." "Exactly," Yi helped her up. did not defeat you in fair combat. He attacked from the shadows. If you want to beat him, you must learn to fight the same way. In the afternoons, Ara studied tactics with Wu. He showed her famous battles from human history and explained the principles behind them. Direct assault is rarely the best option, he told her. Look for the unexpected approach. Attack where your enemy is weakest. Make them react to you instead of the other way around. Ara learned about guerrilla warfare, a style of fighting where small groups attacked larger forces using speed and surprise. She learned about psychological warfare, how to spread fear and doubt among enemy ranks. She learned about espionage, how to gather information and turn enemies into allies. Among the war is about honor, she told Wu one day. Two fleets meet, they fight, the stronger one wins. What you describe sounds like cheating. Wu laughed. There is no cheating in war. There is only winning and losing. The dead do not care whether their killer fought with honor. In the evenings, Ara talked with Captain One. These conversations were different. They were not about tactics or fighting. They were about something harder to explain. You have lost everything, One said one night. Your throne, your fleet, your reputation. But let me ask you something. When you were queen, were you happy? Ara thought about it. I do not know. I was always busy, always worried. There was always another crisis, another problem to solve. I do not think I had time to be happy. Then maybe losing everything is not entirely bad, One said. Maybe it is a chance to find out who you really are. Not the queen, not the ruler, just Ara. I do not know who that is, Ara admitted. Neither did I when I was your age, One said. Finding yourself takes time, and usually a lot of mistakes. As the weeks passed, Ara began to change. Her body grew stronger from training. Her mind grew sharper from study. But more importantly, her spirit began to heal. She found herself laughing at jokes in the common room. She found herself caring about the crew members who had become her friends. She found herself looking forward to each new day instead of dreading it. One night, Bin from the kitchen found Ara alone in the observation room again. But this time, she was not staring at the stars with empty eyes. She was studying maps of the systems, making notes. What are you doing? Bin asked. Planning, Ara said. Planning what? Ara looked up, and for the first time since she came aboard the ship, there was fire in her golden eyes. I am planning to take back my throne. Bin smiled. It is about time. The next morning, Ara requested a meeting with Captain One and his senior officers. They gathered in the strategy room, and Ara stood before them. I want to return to my people, she said. I want to defeat and reclaim what he stole, but I cannot do it alone. She paused, looking at each of them. I am asking for your help. The room was quiet. Then one spoke. What exactly are you asking for? Not your ship, Ara said quickly. Not your weapons. I am asking for you, your advice, your knowledge, your presence. She took a deep breath. I am asking you to stand with me, not because I can pay you, not because I can reward you, but because it is the right thing to do. One looked at his officers. One by one they nodded. He turned back to Ara and smiled. I was wondering when you would ask. Ara felt tears in her eyes. You mean you will help me? We did not save you just to watch you give up, Yi said. Besides, Wu added, I really want to see if my tactics work against actual aliens. Ara laughed. It was a real laugh, full and free. You humans are insane. We know, One said. Now show us your plan. Ara activated the holographic display. It showed the systems, with markings for loyal outposts, enemy positions, and potential allies. It begins here, she said, pointing to a small moon on the edge of space, with 12 ships. One raised an eyebrow. 12 ships. Ara smiled. I thought the number was fitting. The room filled with laughter, and for the first time in a very long time, Ara felt like she might actually win. The moon was called Hose. It was small, cold, and forgotten by most of the galaxy, but for Ara it was the beginning of everything. 3 months had passed since she left with a small team of volunteers. Captain One had come, along with Lieutenant Park Yi and Tactical Officer Wu. A few other crew members had also volunteered, including Dr. Ha, who insisted that every rebellion needed a good medic. They had arrived on Hose with almost nothing, a single shuttle, some basic supplies, and a lot of hope. Now 3 months later, they had an army. It started small. Ara contacted old friends who had escaped the purge, servants and minor officials who remembered her kindness, soldiers who were disgusted by his cruelty. One by one they came to Hose, smuggling themselves past patrols, risking everything for a chance to fight back. At first they were only 50, then 100, then 500. Word spread quietly through the systems that the true queen was alive, that she was gathering strength, that she would return. Heard the rumors, of course. He sent soldiers to find her, but every time they came close, Ara and her people disappeared. They used the tactics the humans had taught her: strike fast, vanish quickly, leave no trace. He is getting frustrated, Wu reported one morning, looking at intercepted communications. His commanders are blaming each other for failing to find us. His allies are starting to doubt him. Good, Ara said. Fear and doubt are weapons too. The first real battle came on a space station called Aura. It was a mining station that supplied fuel to his fleet. Without it, his ships would struggle to operate. Ara had only 12 ships for the attack. Most were small, fast vessels stolen from his own supply convoys. They were by the station's defenses, but they had something the enemy did not expect. Humans. The attack began at midnight station time. 3 of Ara's ships approached the station openly, pretending to be traders. While the station guards were focused on inspecting them, the other 9 ships came from behind, hidden in an asteroid field. But the real surprise was already inside the station. 2 days earlier, Yi and a small team had infiltrated Aura disguised as workers. They had spent 48 hours mapping the station, finding weak points, and making friends with unhappy locals. When the attack started, Yi's team moved. They disabled the main power grid. They locked the command center doors. They freed political prisoners from the station's jail, including 3 generals who had been loyal to Aura. The battle lasted 2 hours. When it ended, Aura belonged to the rebellion. News of the victory spread like fire. Aura had done the impossible. She had won. More ships came to her cause. More soldiers, more supplies. Within weeks, her 12 ships became 40. Her army grew from hundreds to thousands. But was not standing still. He gathered his fleet and began hunting Aura personally. He was done sending subordinates. He would crush the rebellion himself. He is coming, one warned Aura. 300 ships, the largest fleet he has ever assembled. Aura nodded calmly. Good, that means we have his attention. His attention might kill us, Ha said quietly. Perhaps, Aura admitted, but we are not going to fight him directly, not yet. She revealed her plan. The home world, Prime, was heavily defended, had left a strong garrison there while he hunted Aura, but Aura did not want to attack the planet. She wanted to liberate it from within. The people of Prime live in fear, she explained. Rules through terror. He executes anyone who speaks against him. He punishes entire families for the crimes of one member. The people hate him. They just need hope. The plan was complex. First, they would draw his main fleet away from the home world. Then, they would smuggle agents onto Prime to spread the word of the rebellion. Finally, when the time was right, they would strike. You want to start a revolution, Wu said. I want to finish one, Ara replied. The operation took 3 weeks to prepare. One led a decoy fleet that attacked supply lines in 3 different systems simultaneously. It was a bold move, designed to make angry and careless. It worked. The false emperor chased one's ships across half the galaxy, always one step behind. Meanwhile, Yi led infiltration teams to Prime. They moved through the floating cities like ghosts, spreading messages, making contacts, preparing the people for what was coming. "The Queen lives," they whispered. "The Queen is coming, be ready." Finally, Ara gathered her fleet for the final assault. She had 70 ships now, against the 100 that had left to guard the home world. The odds were bad, but not impossible. The battle began at dawn. Ara's ships dropped out of faster than light travel above Prime. Alarms rang throughout the planet's defense network. Enemy ships moved to intercept. But something unexpected happened. As Ara's fleet approached, 10 of the enemy ships broke formation. They turned their weapons not on the rebellion, but on their own allies. "What is happening?" one of Ara's captains asked in confusion. "The plan," Yi's voice came over the radio. "Those ships have crews that are loyal to the true Queen. We turned them months ago." More ships defected. Then more. The enemy formation fell into chaos as commanders tried to figure out who was still loyal and who had switched sides. On the surface of the planet, revolution exploded. In the floating city of Ara, workers seized control of the power stations. In the capital city of Ara, protesters filled the streets, overwhelming the secret police with sheer numbers. In military bases across the planet, soldiers loyal to Ara arrested their commanding officers. It was not a battle, it was a wave, and its empire was drowning in it. By midday, the orbital defenses had fallen. Ara's fleet controlled the space above Prime. On the surface, the revolution had taken every major city except one. The royal palace. Its generals were making their last stand there, holding hundreds of hostages. Ara prepared to land. "Let me come with you," one said. His fleet had returned, having lost pursuit ships in a dense nebula. "This is my fight," Ara said. "And we started this together," one replied. "We will finish it together." Ara looked at the human who had changed her life, the man who had seen a broken queen and chosen to help her stand again. "Very well," she said, "together." They landed in the palace gardens as the sun set over the ocean. The sky was painted in shades of purple and gold. It would have been beautiful if not for the sounds of battle. Ara led her forces through the palace gates. The fighting was fierce but short. The defenders were outnumbered and demoralized. Most surrendered quickly. Finally, they reached the throne room. The great doors were sealed, but Ara had grown up in this palace. She knew every secret passage, every hidden door. She entered the throne room alone. General stood before the throne that he had stolen. He was old now, older than she remembered. His scales were dull, his eyes tired. He held a weapon pointed at a group of hostages. "So you came back," he said. "The Queen returns." "Let them go," Ara said calmly. "It is over, your fleet is scattered, your army has abandoned you. You have lost." "Perhaps," said, "but I can still take something from you." His hand tightened on the weapon. Ara moved. She was fast, faster than she had ever been. The training with Yi, the lessons from the humans, the months of fighting had made her something new, something dangerous. She crossed the distance between them in the time it took to blink. Her hand caught his wrist. She twisted. The weapon fell. Stumbled back, shock on his face. "How?" Ara looked at him with golden eyes that no longer held emptiness. They held fire. "I learned from humans," she said. "They taught me that falling is not the end. It is only the beginning." She turned to her soldiers. "Take him away. He will face justice before our people." As was dragged from the room, Ara walked slowly toward the throne. She did not sit on it. Not yet. First, she freed the hostages. First, she thanked her soldiers. First, she found Captain One in the crowd. "Thank you," she said, "for everything." One smiled. "You did this yourself, we just gave you a push." "A very big push," Ara said. Outside, the people were cheering. The true queen had returned. The tyrant had fallen. A new day was beginning. But Ara knew that the hardest work was still ahead, rebuilding, healing, making sure this never happened again. She was ready. 1 year had passed since the liberation of Prime. The floating cities of the home world were celebrating. Banners of blue and gold hung from every building. Music filled the air. Children played in the streets without fear. The people laughed and danced and wept with joy. Today was Coronation Day. Ara stood before a mirror in the royal chambers, wearing robes of pure white silk. The ceremonial crown of the queen sat on the table beside her. It was made of crystal and starlight, a treasure that had been worn by every ruler for 10,000 years. A knock came at the door. "Enter," Ara said. Captain 1 walked in, wearing a formal uniform that looked uncomfortable on him. Behind him came the rest of the crew, Park Yi, Wu, Ha, Bin, and dozens of others. They had all stayed on Prime for the past year, helping to rebuild. "You look nervous," one said with a small smile. "I am terrified," Ara admitted. "The last time I wore this crown, I lost everything. What if it happens again?" One walked over to stand beside her. "Then you will find people to help you stand up again. That is what friends are for." Ara turned to look at him. "Friends, is that what we are?" "I think so," one said. "Unless you have another word for people who saved each other." Ara thought about it. A year ago, the humans had saved her from despair, but in the battles that followed, she had saved them too. When one's ship was hit by enemy fire, it was Ara who pulled him from the wreckage. When Ha was captured by forces, it was Ara who led the rescue mission. They had saved each other many times. "Friends," she agreed. "Yes, I think that word is correct." The ceremony took place in the grand hall of the palace. It was the largest room on the planet, capable of holding 10,000 people. Today, it was full. Citizens filled every seat. Representatives from allied species stood along the walls, and in the front row, in seats of honor, sat the crew of the. Ara walked down the central path toward the throne. The crowd was silent, watching. She could feel their eyes on her, their hope, their fear, their trust. She reached the throne and turned to face her people. The high priest stepped forward, holding the crown. He was an old man with kind eyes who had served her mother and grandmother before her. "Ara of House Al," he said in a voice that echoed through the hall, "you have returned from exile. You have defeated the tyrant. You have proven yourself worthy. Do you accept the burden of the crown?" "I accept," Ara said. "Do you swear to protect your people, even at the cost of your own life?" "I swear." "Do you swear to rule with wisdom and justice, to listen to counsel, and to admit when you are wrong?" This question was new. Ara had added it to the ceremony herself. "I swear." The priest placed the crown upon her head. Light seemed to gather around it, making it shine like a star. "Then rise, Ara, queen of the long may you reign." The hall erupted in cheers. The sound was deafening, overwhelming. Ara stood before her people, wearing the crown she had lost and regained, feeling emotions she could not name. When the cheering finally faded, Ara raised her hand for silence. "My people," she said. "1 year ago, I was given to a human ship as a joke. The galaxy expected me to die forgotten. They expected humanity to throw me away." She paused, looking at the crew in the front row. "Instead, they gave me food when I was hungry. They gave me medicine when I was sick. They gave me hope when I had none." Her voice grew stronger. "They did not see a broken queen. They saw a person who needed help, and they helped me." She stepped down from the throne and walked toward the human delegation. "Captain 1," she said, "please step forward." One rose from his seat, looking uncertain. He walked to meet her. Ara took his hands in hers. "You and your crew saved my life. You saved my soul. You gave me back my future. There are no words in any language that can express my gratitude." She turned to address the crowd again. Today, I make a declaration that will be recorded in the history of our people forever. From this day forward, humanity is named as eternal ally of the Empire. Our worlds will be their worlds. Our ships will defend them. Our resources will aid them. Any human who comes to space will be welcomed as family. The crowd cheered again. Then Ara did something that shocked everyone. She removed the crown from her head and knelt before One. "Captain One," she said, "I offer you a place at my side, not as a servant but as an equal. Stay here. Help me build a better future. Be my advisor, my friend, and my bridge to your people." The hall went absolutely silent. A queen kneeling before anyone, let alone an alien, was unheard of in history. One looked at her for a long moment. Then slowly he knelt down too. "I am honored," he said, "but I cannot stay forever. My duty is to my ship and my crew. We are explorers. We must keep moving." Ara nodded, sadness and understanding in her golden eyes. "I knew you would say that." "But," One continued, "I can stay for a while, long enough to help you establish your new government, long enough to train others in human tactics, long enough to make sure you are ready." "How long?" One smiled. "1 year, maybe 2. After that I will return to the stars, but I will always come back to visit, and if you ever need me, truly need me, I will be there." They stood together, human and equal in dignity. That night there was a celebration unlike any in memory. The people danced in the streets until dawn. The floating cities lit up with fireworks that painted the sky in every color. Songs were sung that would be passed down for generations. In a quiet corner of the palace, the crew of the gathered for their own celebration. Bin had cooked a feast using both human and ingredients. Ha had found bottles of aged wine from the royal cellar. Wu was teaching officers human card games. Yi was arm wrestling with palace guards and winning. Ara sat with them, laughing at jokes, sharing stories, feeling something she had not felt in years. Belonging. Later, when the party had quieted down, she walked to the observation deck of the palace. From there, she could see the whole planet spread out below her. The great oceans, the floating cities, the lights of millions of people living in peace. One found her there. "Thinking deep thoughts?" he asked. "Always," Ara said. "I was thinking about what you said back on your ship, that falling is not the end." "I remember." "You were right," Ara said. "Falling was not the end for me. It was the beginning of something new, something better." She looked at him. "I was a queen before, but I was not a good one. I was proud, distant, blind to my own weaknesses. Falling taught me humility. Your people taught me compassion. The struggle taught me strength." "So you are saying you are glad you lost your throne?" Ara was quiet for a moment. "I am glad I found my way back to it. The journey matters as much as the destination." They stood together in comfortable silence, watching the stars. "The galaxy is going to be different now," One said eventually. "An alliance between humans and the changes everything. Other species will notice." "Let them notice," Ara said. "Let them see what happens when you underestimate humanity. Let them see what happens when you mock the fallen instead of helping them rise." She turned to face him fully. "You humans have something special," she said. "It is not your technology or your strength. It is your hearts. You see someone in pain and you help them. You see injustice and you fight it. You believe that every person has value, no matter how broken they seem." One shrugged. "We try." "That is exactly my point," Ara said. "You try, you always try, even when it is hard, even when it seems hopeless. That is what makes you dangerous. That is what makes you beautiful." She placed her hand over her heart in the gesture of deep respect. "The galaxy gave you a fallen queen as a joke," she said. "But you made her a hero again. I will never forget that. My people will never forget that. And one day, when humans need help, we will be there. I swear it on my crown, my throne, and my life." One returned the gesture as best he could. Then I look forward to seeing what we build together, he said. Above them, the stars shone bright with possibility. Somewhere out there, other species were learning what had happened on Prime. They were learning that humans were not the weak, insignificant creatures they had assumed. They were something far more interesting. They were friends worth having, and enemies worth fearing. Ara smiled at the thought. Let the galaxy learn, she thought. Let them all learn. The humans are coming, and they bring hope with them.